I'll never forget the day I told my father that I was getting married. He quietly pulled me aside, away from the celebration and the noise, and asked, "Zoe, are you sure about marrying Peter? I know you care about him, but I don't think he's the right man for you." I was confused and a little hurt. "Why would you say that, Dad? He loves me, he respects me. I don't care if he doesn't have as much money as we do." My father sighed. "It's not about money, sweetheart. You know I came from nothing and built everything I have. I'd never judge someone based on their income. But Peter, there's something about him. I don't trust him. And his mother, she's not much better." That made me pause. "What are you trying to say?" He looked at me sadly. "Call it a father's instinct. I don't think Peter truly loves you. I heard him bragging to his friends about bagging the rich girl. He laughed about it. Julia, his mother, laughed too. They didn't know I was nearby." I remember shaking my head and saying, "You must be mistaken. Peter would never say something so cruel, and Julia's always been kind to me. She wouldn't let him say things like that." But deep down, I was afraid my dad might be right. I didn't listen to him. I wish I had. I was a young woman, deeply in love, still mourning the loss of my mom. She had passed away 2 years earlier. My father was very sick by the time I got married, and I think I was just trying to hold on to anything that made me feel safe. Peter and Julia became that for me, or at least, I thought they did. My father had made smart investments over the years and became very wealthy. I worked an average job and earned enough to live modestly. Peter came from a more humble background, though he earned more than me. Still, he and Julia always acted like they deserved more. They complained about money constantly. They liked expensive things and didn't hide their jealousy. I helped out when I could, giving small amounts from the allowance my father gave me. I even let them move into my house after the wedding. But soon after they moved in, they began complaining. "This house is way too small," Peter said. "Your dad lives in a mansion. Why did you settle for this little place?" "I don't earn much," I told him. "This house was a big stretch for me. Dad helped with the down payment, but I still have a mortgage." "Well," Julia added, "your mom must have left something behind for you. Your dad should have given you a bigger house with that." "I'm not entitled to anything," I replied. "Mom didn't have a will. Whatever she left behind belongs to Dad now. I'm fine with that." Peter frowned. "That's a stupid thing to say. Your dad doesn't need that mansion. He's alone and sick. He should give it to us, right, Mom?" Julia nodded. "Yes, Zoe, just ask him. It's not a big deal." I was shocked. "No, that's my father's home. He deserves to be comfortable for as long as he lives." Peter looked annoyed. "Well, he won't live long. Once he's gone, you'll inherit everything anyway. We can wait it out and get something better later." The way they spoke about my father, as if he were already gone, made me sick. They weren't concerned about him. They only cared about what they could get once he died. They kept asking me to beg my dad for more money, even though we had enough to live on. It was never about needs, only about wants. Then came the worst time of my life. My father's cancer got worse, and he passed away quickly. I was completely devastated, and through all of it, Peter and Julia were distant. They didn't comfort me. They didn't attend the funeral. They said, "Well, he wasn't our family, so there's no point." But when it came time for the will to be read, suddenly my father was their family. "Why can't we come to the reading?" Peter demanded. "This is ridiculous," Julia added. "Lawrence was our family. My son deserves to know what's in the will." I was fed up. "You didn't even come to the funeral. Now you're acting like you cared about him." They weren't allowed to attend the reading, and that made them furious. When I returned home, they didn't ask how I was. They didn't say they were sorry. They just asked, "How much money did you get? You must have gotten a lot." I looked at them and said, "Nothing. I didn't get any money from my parents' inheritance." "What? That can't be true," Julia shouted. "Your parents were rich." "I'm telling the truth. There's nothing. The will didn't include money for me. You can check my bank account if you don't believe me." "But who did they leave it all to? You're the only child." "I don't know. The lawyer said the remaining assets went to charity. That's what my parents wanted." Julia was furious. Peter was quiet, but his jaw was tight with anger. I could tell they didn't believe me. They thought I was hiding something from them. Maybe I should have told them the full truth. But something inside me told me to stay quiet. I had started to suspect they were planning something. They were too obsessed with my inheritance, too desperate to know every detail. So I decided to lie. I kept it simple. "There's nothing. There's no money left. They didn't take it well. They started pushing me for more information, asking questions, trying to guilt-trip me. That's when I finally put my foot down. Enough was enough. After weeks of being accused and pressured, I finally had enough. I showed Peter and Julia my bank statements. I said calmly, "See, I told you the truth. I didn't get any money from my parents. There's no secret inheritance. Do you believe me now?" Instead of apologizing or even looking surprised, they looked disappointed. Julia muttered bitterly, "So all our hard work was for nothing. His parents weren't rich, and she didn't even get $1,000. What a joke." Peter looked disgusted. "I can't believe this. I married Zoe for nothing. What a waste of time." His words felt like a punch in the stomach. I looked at him, confused. "What are you talking about, Peter?" Julia jumped in with a cold tone. "Oh, come on, Zoe. Do you think someone like my son would marry someone like you for love? We thought you had money. That's the only reason Peter married you. Now that we know you don't, it's time to move on. Peter, divorce her and find someone who actually has something to offer." I was frozen. "Are you serious? You want Peter to leave me just because I don't have money?" Peter nodded without shame. "Yes, I married you because I thought you'd help give us a better life. I didn't go to college. I didn't have anything. I thought being with you would change that. But now, you have nothing. So you faked your love and tricked me into marrying you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Peter looked away. "It wasn't fake at first, but yeah, I hoped your family would give you a lot of money, and you'd share it with me. That didn't happen. So now, I need to move on." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Everything suddenly made sense. The way he changed, the way Julia treated me, the constant questions about money. They never loved me. They only wanted what they thought I had. I wanted to cry, to scream, to throw things, but instead, I stayed calm. "Okay, Peter, if you want a divorce, you'll get it. I've never stopped you from getting what you want before. I won't stop you now. Let's do it peacefully, a mutual divorce. It'll save us both time and money." Julia scowled. "Good, but don't think for a second you'll get alimony from my son. We'll fight that in court." I nodded. "Fine, I'll agree to not take any alimony or property from Peter, but only if you sign a document that says we won't share any assets, now or in the future." Peter agreed easily. "That's fair. You don't have anything, and neither do I." We sorted out the paperwork quickly. They seemed satisfied that I wasn't fighting back. Maybe they expected me to cry and beg, but I didn't. The truth is, I cried every day, alone. I cried in my car before work and after work. Peter never noticed. Julia didn't care. They were just waiting for their chance to leave me behind and move on. But I was already making my own plans. After a while, I asked Peter and Julia to move out of my house. They found a small rental in the same neighborhood. We didn't speak much while the divorce was being finalized. I kept things quiet. I didn't want them to know anything. Then, on the day the divorce was official, I stopped by their place to return my engagement and wedding rings. "I don't want to keep these," I told them. "They only remind me of a painful time in my life." Julia rolled her eyes. "You might want to keep them. You don't have money now. Maybe you can sell them when your little job doesn't pay enough." "They're cheap anyway," Peter added. I smiled. "I don't need to sell them, Julia, but thanks for the suggestion." Julia scoffed. "Well, we all know your parents didn't leave you anything. They must have been really bad with money to leave their daughter with nothing." That's when I burst out laughing. A loud, real laugh. "What's so funny?" Julia snapped. "Did I say something hilarious?" I looked at her and Peter and said, "It's funny how wrong you are. I never said I didn't get an inheritance. I said I didn't get any money. That's not the same thing." Peter frowned. "What are you talking about?" "My parents didn't leave me cash. They left me something better. They left me this entire neighborhood. I'm the owner of the housing society you're renting from." They stared at me, speechless. But we signed the lease with a manager. He didn't say anything about this," Peter stammered. "That's because the property manager was working under my parents. I wasn't supposed to get the inheritance right away. My parents set it up so I'd receive everything after a year, and only if you two showed your true colors. And you did." Julia was shaking her head. "That's not true. You're lying. Call your landlord and ask." "Go ahead." They did. They called him right then and there. He confirmed everything. Julia turned pale. Peter's jaw dropped. You tricked us," Julia whispered. "You made us believe you were poor." I smiled. You assumed I had nothing. You made that choice. You showed me your true selves. Now, you'll face the consequences. Peter tried to reason with me. We've been together for years. Maybe we can start over. We were wrong, but… Oh, now you want to try again? I laughed. Too late. I already heard you were seeing someone else. I think I'll go let her know who she's really dealing with. He panicked. No, don't do that, please. If you're not taking me back, at least don't ruin my chances with her. I told him to get lost. Then I told them the worst part, they'd be evicted as soon as the property was fully in my name. They begged, but I was done. Later, I called Peter's new girlfriend and told her everything. She was shocked. She broke up with him on the spot and even showed me the messages. Peter and Julia came to my house screaming and calling me names. I called the police. They were removed. Once the property was officially mine, I had them evicted for good. They came back once more, and I called the police again. This time, I also filed a restraining order. Word spread. Everyone in town knew what happened. Their friends turned on them. No one wanted anything to do with them. Eventually, they left town. And me? I'm living peacefully, free of users and liars. I have my inheritance, my dignity, and finally, my freedom.